Welcome to No Question About That. I'm Ed. I'm with Daniel today. And we're talking about Manchester United 4. That's 4, Daniel. Brighton 2. What a result. What a game. What a performance. Bloody hell.
Yeah, very good. It was, in some ways, probably the most complete performance under Amorim, I'd say.
It might be fair, yeah.
Not just in terms of quality, although we'll talk about that, but also in terms of what he wants versus what it fucking looked like.
Yeah.
I'd say there was the greatest congruence between the two that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game marked by some really nice forward play, I think. I mean, the quality of Cunha and Mbeumo and Šeško together, I thought, really stood out. I know Šeško isn't getting the goals yet, but got an assist yesterday and some very nice link-up play, I thought, looks very comfortable in those situations. And Mbeumo, obviously, devastating ability to come outside to in and finish, and Cunha finally got his goal, which I think he needed after 10 games. I mean, he's a forward after all. He'd been playing well anyway. So there was all of that. And just United's ability to switch up the tactics. We'll go into more detail with Darnish later, but not so long this time. Actually did play out a little bit. Didn't press in this game, which was kind of interesting. But just much more secure. I mean, a couple of goals you might want to complain about. I mean, Danny Welbeck's free kick, he took about 10 yards nearer the goal than the foul actually happened, but nice shot right down the middle. Could Lamans have done better with it?
It's funny, isn't it? Because when you see where it goes in, you think you've got to be saving that. But then when you see it in real time, you think you couldn't get to it. So perhaps he was too far over and he left too much for the wall at the point where literally if it goes over the wall, it's in.
Yeah.
Maybe needed to be a bit further over, not sure. And yeah, as you say, the free kick should never have been taken from anywhere near there in the first place. But the referee, I hate talking about this shit. The referee had a fucking stinker. Oh my goodness me.
Stinker.
Oh my goodness. There was a period in the first half where he just kept getting really apparently obvious decisions wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess Brighton might have cause to complain about, what was it, United's third goal and possible foul with a shirt pull, although the slow-mo looked way, way worse than the real time.
It's funny you say that. I actually, in real time, I thought that's a foul. I thought that's not going to be a goal when I saw it.
When you put your hand on someone and grab their shirt and they go down, it's almost always a foul.
I think the law on this is sort of to do with whether you have impact or not. So if you touch someone's shirt and then remove it, I don't think that's a foul. I think that's the law. We can look it up. I think that's the law. But so when I actually saw it in real time, it feels like, who was the player? Forget his name. But Shaw puts a hand on his shirt and he basically thinks, actually, fuck it. I'm going nowhere here. I'm falling over.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced that the actual hand on shirt is enough for it to be a foul. It has to have some impact, I think. But as I said, we do need to look this up. And I don't know if we're going to pause the podcast here and pretend that we did some research. But
no, we're not. But
I just remember a different penalty situation with that from another game. Was it maybe the Burnley one? With the shirt pull, I think, where I remember thinking, the law is a little bit different to what I thought it was. But before the game, I think it was Amorim, so we just have to be competitive and one of them can win the game, talking about his attacking players. And it feels like that's where we are now. We were there with Ole as well, where you've got at the very bottom level of performance, you've got good enough attackers to win you any game. And if you try hard and your attackers play well, you should win most of the time. I think that's fair to say now that there aren't that many teams with better attackers than us.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, actually. If United are competitive enough, we obviously have high quality up front now that should be able to do something. We've been underperforming our XG significantly, have now in the last 3 games significantly overperformed it. Somewhere in the middle is a good enough side to be somewhere. I'm not sure where that somewhere is quite yet. 5th, 6th, 4th, 5th, 6th. I mean, there's a lot of middling quality at the top end of the table.
I mean, you don't know how it's going to be, and Mbeumo's obviously off for AFCON as well. But with the quality in this team,
Ahmad.
I mean, how many of Arsenal's attackers would you take?
Saka, for sure.
Instead of who?
Well, it's true. He plays in the same position as Mbeumo, which is troubling. I mean, just in terms of the quality of the player. Martinelli's a waste of time. I don't like him at all. Who else? Eze, if you call him an attacker.
Instead of who?
Flown. I don't know who instead
I
of
don't
who.
think he's
in the squad.
No, but what I'm saying is that, I mean, Eze's a good player, but I don't think he's a better player than Cunha, and I don't think his numbers will be close to what Cunha's numbers will be. And I don't think he offers you the same in all phases, and we'll come to that. But what I'm saying really is that we're at that bottom level where in any game we should be scoring twice. Any game against anyone. And quite hard to beat when you do that. And obviously we're hoping for improvements because what we're seeing also is it takes time to settle, but we're seeing intelligent players starting to combine, like particularly Ahmad and Mbeumo, but also Yoro backing them up yesterday. So you should have a really good triangle down that right-hand side. When was the last time we had anything fucking resembling a right-hand side?
No, it's a very high quality. If Ahmad Mbeumo and Yoro together works really well. Down the left-hand side was not quite the same. And we had Shaw, kind of interesting tactical switch up yesterday, pushing quite high up in certain phases of the game. Dalot, just not a left wing back in any sense. Cunha, obviously very high quality, but it hasn't quite all worked in the same way yet. We didn't finish our talk on Anthony Taylor and his fuck ups, but we'll get to all that in sequence, I think. Can we talk about Cunha's goal? So that's just a classic Cunha goal. When he joined, we said, "Oh, why is he overperforming his XG so much? Well, he scores goals like this
because he's really good at that." Agree.
Yeah.
It's not that. Because it's not. I remember when we signed Ashley Young, and I had a mate who supported Watford who told me he was good, and I was, no, he's not. And then he scores those 2 goals against Arsenal. My mate messages me and he says, "I told you." And I said at the time, well, actually, I don't really see it like that, because if he scores goals like this in every game or regularly, then we would be getting him off Villa for that amount of money at this point. Like that's the high watermark. Whereas Cunha, you see, does that a lot. And what I really like about the goal, I was watching it, a friend who had a box, shall we say, and so it wasn't UK commentary. And just before, I think a cryon comes on the screen saying Šeško's not touched the ball yet, and then he gets involved. And what I love about the goal also is the first touch. It's so assured to put the ball exactly where it needs to be for the finish that everyone knows is coming and no one can do anything about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, bought those 3 attackers and the goalkeeper, and goalkeeper's made a massive difference just in terms of just feeling secure, whether or not he should have been in the right place for the free kick or not.
Mistakes will happen. It's not that. It isn't that. As you say, it's the security. Like, he comes, like, there's a moment in the first half where he comes and catches a corner. You're like, what? It's fucking incredible. I love this guy.
I thought that was illegal, catching corners. Yeah. It's like 4 years since we've had a keeper who's felt like well, even before that, Dave wasn't very good with a high ball.
No, never. He was like a table football goalkeeper. Like, amazing reactions, but can only move side to side.
Yeah, very true. But just the quality in those 4 swaps up front and in the goalkeeper has made a massive difference. You know, the big questions have been not on quality of those 3 players and their system fit, which you could say is even more important than the quality uplift of the players that have gone out, but whether Amorim can get it right. And he's made 2 big changes this season, I think. One is in defensive block and how they go now with basically a 5-4-1 or a 4-4-2. You could really clearly see that. It's helpful that Old Trafford cameras are quite high, so you can see what the shape looks like and what, depending on how the opposition is setting the build up, and then the more direct balls. And we are number 1 for direct balls this year. It was different against Brighton. So against Liverpool, it was nearly 40% of our passes were long. 75 out of the 200 passes we had were long. It was much different against Brighton, and I think just because Brighton do press, but not quite as aggressively in the same numbers as Liverpool, they didn't feel the need just to bypass midfield. And so it just looked like more, as you said right at the top, more of a complete performance as a result, and more of the kind of style of performance you think, okay, this can go quite far. Because I didn't think that the way we played against Liverpool, if that's replicated often, and there have been a lot of long balls this season, I don't think that takes you that far. I mean, it's not like you can't work out that you just drop off and sit a midfielder in front of the back four to clear up the second balls. But United also top of second ball wins this season.
Yeah, but if you have 3 players there who try to win second balls, like, it's actually the tactic itself is quite hard to defend against. And I don't totally agree that with that tactic we couldn't get that far, because I think our attackers are good enough so that it's possible. But I agree that, like, you're not good. You're not going to win the league playing like that, and it's not even. You need to have options. Like, it's fine to go direct because that's a good option, but you need, when that doesn't work, you need to have other ways of doing it. And talking about Anfield, it's just what I think the most obvious thing was. It's just so obvious how much confidence they got from that win.
Yeah.
And what actually had me thinking about was at the beginning of 08-09, we go to Anfield and we lose. And I maintain now, not that it really matters because they didn't, but if Liverpool hadn't won that game, I don't think they'd have got anywhere near challenging for the title. But they win. And you can see that the confidence they take from that game then fires them for the rest of the season. And we've done it to Liverpool before, and more recently than that, where we've let them get confidence beating us early in the season. I can't remember when, but it happened quite recently, where it was, and you can just see that game has convinced them that they're good enough to beat good teams, that maybe the manager knows what he's talking about, and it enables them to play in a more relaxed way. That if you can go to Anfield and win, you can beat Brighton at home. And even if the tactics are a little bit different, and I thought that I felt, like you say, like I didn't want them to play like they played against Liverpool, against Brighton. You've got to try and see them try and control and dominate a game. And for about 5 or 10 minutes, they couldn't. And then after that, they were excellent.
Yeah, there's a very short periods in the game when Brighton got on top, and you can see they did, especially Welbeck dropping between the lines caused United's defenders a lot of problems. Who was going to go with him, basically? That's where Shaw came in. Also, Shaw during the build-up was interesting because, United have always been 2, often against 3, or defensively, who's going to push up quite quickly. And Shaw was doing that, and it's noticeable. And I
think I wondered about seeing Welbeck do that. And I wondered if that was partly to try and tempt one of United's defenders out with him to say, because otherwise you're going to leave 3 men. You're going to leave 3 men marking no one, or is the list or whoever it is going to follow him out there, or Shaw going to follow him out there. And following him out there, especially when you've got 2 others, feels like a good answer to that. And it seemed to work quite well. I mean, there were still times, and we'll talk about this with Darnish when we do the tactics pod, that they were penetrated a bit too easily still. And Welbeck could have scored in the first half and didn't. And which sort of harks back a little bit to what we've been saying when we were shit, that we're still shit, but these games are being decided on margins, and have those margins gone the other way, and they're not little margin, things like not smacking penalties over the bar, or having a goalkeeper that has hands and wrists. Like really, really things that you should be able to almost rely on in any kind of football team anywhere at any level. United would be top 4 now. So things were never quite as bad as people said they were. And it doesn't mean that we're now good either. But you can see the makings of a good team here. And if you whack a quality midfield player in there, you'd see we'd jump up another few levels on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fair. Yeah, and there are definitely long-term questions about whether the Amorim model is sophisticated enough to take United further than that. But as it stands, this should be good enough to get us into Europe on those fine margins, right?
Yeah.
Sort the goalkeeper problem out. Quality enough to score enough goals. Don't let so many stupid goals in by just letting people playing triangles around our midfield, which happens over and over again. Those sort of margins, and finish your chances. And then the actual G and the XG start to look kind of similar, and then that should be good enough to get us where we need to be this season.
I actually looked at the league table yesterday, and I hadn't really thought about this yet, but our goal difference is 1.
1, yeah.
Yeah. That is not what the rest of the league have, who are on a similar level to us have. But on another point, had you ever noticed how big Cunha's spam is? I had not noticed this until yesterday, and I say this as the owner of a fairly significant spam myself. So yeah, I guess that kind of thing as well, actually.
All right, second goal was Casemiro. Bit of luck. He actually got credited with the goal. That was never going in.
And he did. And he did the Harron's knee slide. I'm not sure you can knee slide when you scored that goal.
It's a question for the cliche spotter, though it's not language. But are you allowed to knee slide if your shot is going miles wide and gets deflected in? But good for him. He's having a good season, I think, Casemiro. But his legs can't. The one they've decided is that he's going to play a very specific role. He's not the number 8
for an hour,
and then it all falls apart tactically after that. He's obviously, vastly experienced, intelligent. He's calmed his game down a little bit in this role. I think the blind ball round the corner and spray and pray passing wasn't serving him or the team well. They've limited his role a little bit. He's obviously still very dangerous on set pieces, or very good on set pieces as well. Fantastic header in at one point yesterday, and one of the Brighton corners, but his legs can't last. And the option after that is either a tactical mess or Ugarte, who's just a mess.
Yeah. It's not good, is it? But I think what's also helping Casemiro, and what helped him yesterday, is you've got De Ligt inverting, which isn't, I don't particularly love that tactic, but if you've got him inverting or Shaw jumping and Cunha dropping back, and I keep saying this, and I wrote it a few weeks ago, that one of the ways of solving the problem of the outside centre-backs getting pinned is to let Cunha come back, because although he's not particularly given to defending, he has the skills to get in the way and to also bring the ball upfield. And that combination of factors is meaning that we're not constantly underloaded. And we've got to remember yesterday, first of all, Old Trafford's a big pitch. So 2 men in midfield able to cover that is a lot. So if United are able to dominate one of the best short passing teams in the league, who really do focus on loading up the midfield, and United are able to outplay them, it means that the workarounds for that midfield situation were quite good yesterday. And I don't think that they're going to work all the time, but it at least shows us that the manager is watching the games and thinking about where things are going wrong. Because previously it kind of seemed like he was just sort of blaming the players and bad luck and all the rest of it, really. Not players who don't understand, players who aren't good enough, whatever it is. That the only fault with it was that. Whereas now he's tweaking the system, and just Cunha dropping in, it's so simple. It means he might have to work a bit harder, but it doesn't mean that he won't be able to do anything going forward, as we saw yesterday. But just adding an extra body in there and someone who's really comfortable in tight spaces just means that you're not constantly getting outnumbered in midfield by a team that's literally looking to do that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it serves the manager's sort of theory of the case very well that it's taking them a year to make these changes and move away from this kind of dogmatic view of what football should be, right? And it was never enough, in my view, that he could just swap out better players and go, okay, that's good enough. That now takes United back to the top. He also had to make changes based on his squad and the league and what works in the Premier League. And you really get murdered so quickly here. I mean, every coach in the league is knows what they're doing, basically, and they work out your weaknesses so quickly. I mean, you're seeing it happen to Liverpool this season. It's funny, there's a few coaches on Twitter who are now we told you this would happen to Liverpool, and showing their threads from the beginning of the season and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right.
But those same people would have been rhapsodising how good they were last season. It was obvious last season. And I feel like really
almost
the only place you had heard that shit said was here. And I'm saying it again about Arsenal. This isn't a good fucking team. It might be the best team in the league, but I'm not sitting there watching them going, what a team, we'll never get there.
No, they're incredibly good defensively, Arsenal.
They're solid.
So few shots against them. So, but all right. Yeah, his third goal was Mbeumo, the foul. We talked about it a little bit. I love the fact that he's scoring. That's 5 now, 4 in the league.
I really like this finish as well. The Ole finish.
Yeah.
I remember Ole saying that he won this when he was. I think he stopped playing by this point, and he took his sons to watch United, and Rooney scores one of them, and Ole's like, I taught him that.
Yeah.
Which I felt like, imagine telling your kids that. But yeah, once Gary Neville's, once it goes through the defender's legs, it's too late. Keeper can't save it. And what I really like about Mbeumo is his finish selection. Say with the fourth goal, he had options there, and he picks the right option very often. He's a really interesting player, Mbeumo. I guess I find him interesting because I think he's really excellent technically and really intelligent player also. And yet he's not exactly what I'd call a beautiful footballer. And I was kind of thinking, why is that? Is it because he's short and squat? I don't know. And he's left-footed. So there's quite a lot of the ingredients that are there. But in terms of effectiveness, he reminds me a lot of Salah.
Mm-hmm.
That he's a numbers guy. Then he scores goals, he makes goals, he makes finishes that aren't that easy look really something that he's very in control of.
Yeah.
And he just seems to have a wide variety of finishes available to him. But yeah, it's that ability to almost always pick the right one. Even if he doesn't score, it's quite rare with him that I'm thinking you pick the wrong option there. Like execution, you're like, sometimes we could, sometimes it won't, because he's a footballer, he's a human, same as everyone. We're all human, we all fuck up. But his finish selection is excellent.
Fully agree. He's just incredibly dangerous because he can go both ways as well. That gives an awful lot of options. He seems to know where to arrive in the box and what space brings others into play. As you said, yeah, I think he'll put up really good numbers. You're feeling his career is about to go a bit stratospheric at this point.
Well, that was the gamble, wasn't it? Because he was exceeding his XG. And then the question when you see that is he going to regress to the mean, or did he hit a new level last season?
Yeah, and it feels like he's hit a new level. I mean, obviously, it's still early in the season. We're 10 games in or whatever. Are we even that many games in? Can't remember.
But it's just what he does is repeatable.
Yeah. And same with Cunha. I mean, he obviously needs to put up more numbers, but it's a difficult one because I think they don't want to leave him too high up the pitch because he naturally drifts between the lines, but also like helping out in midfield is kind of important, so we're not underloaded all the time. And so, like, how much time can he spend in the box if Mbeumo's the one that's getting closer to Šeško? Which he is.
Yeah, which is fine. As long as the team is winning and goals are being scored, then that's fine. And he was so close to scoring against Fulham.
Yeah.
He hits the post, and then he gets injured. I'm not worried about him. I think he's someone, and I think him and Mbeumo, this will be true, other players we will see score in big games also. They're not scared.
Yeah.
And he's just so delighted to be at United, Cunha. You said afterwards, like, I really like this phrase. When he was asked about scoring your first goal, and he said it's a real mixture of sensations. I don't know if it was just because his English isn't his first language, and so I wasn't expecting that kind of phrasing from him. But it's like, he said it, and I kind of felt quite moved by that, because I was like, yeah, I fucking bet it was a mixture of sensations, or a mix of sensations, or whatever he said, because he's someone who, it turned out, like, grew up supporting United, and now he's playing for them, and he has that intensity, and he has that desire, and he has a lot of fucking skill and a lot of bollocks.
I love the fact that he's so kind of softly spoken, kind of giggles when he's talking, and he just seems like a super nice guy that everyone loves, and then he gets on the pitch and he's an absolute bastard as well. And the shithousery against Liverpool at the end there, where he's wasting time and pretending to be concerned about injured players and all that kind of stuff. Just to waste time. I really liked as well. He had, there's stylistically completely different, but it's a bit like Mark Hughes. He's very softly spoken off the pitch and very shy, and then
very miserable. Mark Hughes. Cunha's still got a bit of joy out of people.
Yeah. All right,
and also he's upping the handsome quotient in this team, and it's necessary. Yeah. And I've actually what I was thinking when I was like, "Blair's a good spam." I was thinking it's good that we've got someone who's quite handsome again.
Yeah. I should probably show some pictures to my wife, see if I can get her interested in football again. Or in between, Šeško blazed one over. I actually thought he had a good game here. I do like the team with him in there. It does give you a focal point, not just going long to him, but he does bring players into the game well. He's a physical presence. He can turn as well.
That's what I really liked that first time Cruyff turn he does. Because he does it before the third goal, but that's not the only time we've seen it. It feels like a move that he's able to hit quite often, and it's quite hard to defend against, because if he does it, then the defender has to stand off quite far off him. The defender stands that quite far enough off him to stop that. He doesn't need to do it. And I like it when you see those moves that players have where they're actually quite hard to stop, and they can be quite simple. Roy Keane had one where he wanted to turn, and what he'd do is he'd have the ball on the outside of his foot, and he'd just sort of turn like in that direction, point his foot, sort of almost point the foot of the toes outwards, and just turn in that direction. So simple in terms of creating space, but so hard to stop. Or Scholes, when he would feint towards the ball, allow it across him, the defender's bought it, he's gone. Yeah. Because generally, like, the complex footwork is only needed in in really particular situations. One thing I always loved about Scholes as a player was he could do the flash stuff if he had to, but he only did it when he had to. And it's to do with correct decision-making and that innate, inherent understanding of the game and how it works in really like the microcosm. What do you do in that situation? He just knew. And yeah, I like Šeško. I mean, he looked a bit of a donkey in those first few games, it must be said, while he was getting up.
He was fit.
Yeah. Like he was getting up to speed, but I can't lie, watching him thinking,
Doesn't look that smooth, yeah.
I'd like it not to look. I understand you're not fit. I understand it's a new league. I understand you're young. I understand you've had no pre-season. I didn't totally imagine it was going to look like this. Didn't particularly want it to look like this, but now it really doesn't look like that.
No, it really doesn't. The goals, I hope, will come. Gary Neville was quite tough on him yesterday. I think that's a bit unfair. I mean, he's moved from the Bundesliga, which I think everyone recognises is more difficult to move from the Bundesliga to England because of the style of the game and so on. It's just a bit of a learning curve. I think he'll get there. He's still very young.
And he scored two in his last three. I mean, I'm not getting upset about that. And he's in a team that's winning and he's part of it. And he came on against Anfield, hit at Anfield, and he was crucial to seeing out that win. Yeah. So I thought I saw a little bit of Gary Neville's analysis yesterday on him, and I didn't like it. And it's not, obviously, people regularly listen for no. It's not good for you to sit here wanking off United players all the time. Verily, we do not. It's not possible. So
I have to admit, Daniel, I've not given the reach around to a United player recently.
It doesn't have to be a reach around. But anyway, yeah,
How else?
Head on. Anyway, look him in the eyes. Don't be soft. But I think that you can tell he's a football player. You can tell he's a player, and it won't matter how many goals he scores as long as the team's winning and he's contributing. And currently the team appears to be winning. He's contributing. And yeah, like you always want your centre forwards to score. And I never quite got out of when Andy Cole played for United. I always wanted him to score. In general, I always want the centre forwards to score. I don't need my right back to score. I want the strikers to score because that's what they're there for. And because of the start that Andy Cole had to his United career, I always liked it when he scored because I felt that was what needed to happen. You always do want your centre forward to score. I always want Šeško to score, obviously, but he's part of a team that is developing an understanding that is growing, and he's instrumental. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see him getting left out of too many more games either, because it felt like that was really specific. And by the time we next play the kind of fixture where you might think about an extra midfield player, I really hope that the team has moved on enough so that actually you don't need one.
Very good. Yeah, can we get on to Anthony Taylor then? We briefly talked about him early. The penalty, non-penalty on Ahmad, I've watched that 20, 30 times now. I can't in any world think why that's not been given as a penalty. They said he touched the ball.
He did.
If the ball touched his foot, it's like the back of the heel and it's still already gone the other way.
It's It's still there. That's
ridiculous.
It looked stonewall at the time. You see it in a replay and you're thinking, well, this is definitely getting VAR'd. This is so obvious. And then it doesn't. There was also, was there like a straight arm? Was it on Mbeumo quite shortly after that? Was someone stuck a fucking clothesline?
Right in his face, yeah. Yeah, there's last weekend Arsenal didn't get a penalty because there was a toe on the ball, but I didn't even think that's a precedent because that was a toe on the ball. Right now, you can say is that enough of a tackle when he's basically cleaned out the man?
And also,
right,
if the ball's still there to play, and like the classic example to show I'm not biased on this is Fletcher on Fabregas when he gets suspended for to the 2009 final.
Right,
it's a tackle, but the ball's still there and he cleans out the man.
Yeah.
And the frustration for me there was he just shouldn't have made the tackle.
Yeah.
But and there was another one, I think in 09-10 where we're at Anfield. I think it's 09-10 and Carragher slides in on Carrick, I think. And his heel grazes the top of the ball. Not a penalty. It's like, no, the ball's still there. So it's really different, I think, to the Ahmad one at Anfield, say, where he gets fucking all of the ball and then catches the man, where that's football. That football's a physical game,
and he got booked for it.
And he gets booked for it, and it's not even a foul. So that kind of tackle, I want in the game all the time. Doesn't matter who, whether it's for United against United. Those tackles are part of what makes football special. The kind of the physicality of it. But yeah, if you get a flick on the ball, it's still there, and you clean the man out. That's a foul. And I
100%.
couldn't. And,
of course, clearly.
And you look at it clearly, and I don't understand how you look at that and say it's not clear and obvious. It could have been more so almost.
Then the other controversial one, apart from Shaw's foul for the third goal, was the potential dogzo with Dorgu. The ball is so far away from the man at the point the foul takes. There's no way you can say he's under control of the ball. So that's the fourth condition for a dogzo. So it can't be a red card, just to clear that one up. I mean, I know Brighton were very frustrated by that at the time, but it's just that. I mean, it's pretty clumsy from Dorgu.
Right, but also, it's also worth, even before that, the reason it's even a situation in the first place is because he's underhit a pass.
Yeah.
From the court, and he then has to leg it back. Yeah, he's a problem. I mean, he's not a problem so much because he's not in the team, but it's beginning to look like he might be shit.
Yeah, he's a problem because actually I think defensively his works all right. Honestly, I don't hate it. It's the lack of contribution in attacking areas when the system has been so reliant on wide overloads. It's actually, with the longer ball stuff, it's less reliant on that because we have another way of building up now, which has taken some of the focus off the wing backs and the requirement for them to be really good. I like Amorim and Mbeumo on that side. I think that's going to be really good. I want to see that in 90% of games. So the question becomes on the left-hand side. What he likes of Dalot is total availability, got an engine, doesn't tire at all, can invert into midfield and make an extra defensive player. But what you're going to get is absolutely no attacking numbers whatsoever. And in attacking situations, he's going to cut inside and play a ball backwards. But he's so, there's a tactical problem. And then there's just a quality problem on the left-hand side. Diego Leon scored for the under-21s yesterday. So, hopefully he progresses or we have to buy someone because it does kind of look like that is a wing-back is an issue. I mean, I feel mean saying it like that because Dorgu's like 21 and time to learn. He's only been in the country less than a year and all of that kind of stuff. But the lack of quality is an issue. So
yeah, well, that's it, isn't
and
it?
we knew this when he came in. He's just untidy.
We always say it about Dalot, to go back to him, that he's not good enough at doing a number of things. Mm-hmm. He can attempt a number of things. Whereas Dorgu, he's not really quick enough, I don't think. And the defence isn't... Obviously, the attacking has been dreadful, really. The output has been dreadful. But the defending, I mean, it's a bit careless. Like, we saw it yesterday. We saw it at Anfield. I think is it the chance that Salah puts wide is him, I think.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, this isn't... I'm not massively blaming him for this, but the Gakpo goal, the cross does go through his legs. I'm not sure which... Yeah, that can happen to anyone, and I wouldn't isolate it, but there's a reason he's not getting in the team when he's a better fit for the position in terms of profile than Dalot is, and it's because he's played shit regularly.
Yeah. Totally fair enough, I think. All right. Have we gone through all the goals and all of Anthony Taylor? Anthony Taylor really pissed everybody off yesterday. And of course, Michael Oliver was on VAR as well. We should mention that because he regularly fucks us as well. I don't like using words like...
That's United, not me and you, incidentally.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Have not invited him round for a cocaine and whatever party. As refs like. Deary me. That guy's going to end up in prison as well, isn't he? He was charged with various crimes.
Yeah, so one thing we should probably talk about is the subs. So are we saying that we can't really make changes in midfield now? And are we saying also that did we lose control when Manu came on for Casemiro? Are we saying that was crucial?
We did. I don't know whether... I mean, he's just not going to play in the same role, And so the question is, if Manu comes on for Casemiro, which obviously Amorim doesn't like at any point generally, he gave him 20 minutes yesterday. And because it's been Ugarte who's been coming on for Casemiro mostly. So Manu comes on, gets 20 minutes, and he plays his game. And Casemiro was in this very important role between the lines, covering that position. And so, it may well be right that Amorim has profiled Mainoo as not a number 6. Now, he's also not a ball progressor, which is the other profile in midfield. So it's just, we said this before. Like, you look at Mainoo, he's intelligent enough to go, I don't fit this manager's profile of player in any position. I'm fucked. I need to get out of here, right? So I totally understand that. And we did lose control of the game when Casemiro went off.
So on that point, because I'm also thinking about how this team's going to look in the future. Because it's also worth saying, I thought Bruno Fernandes was brilliant again yesterday. And he
300th game for the club.
Seems to be getting a handle on what a number 8 has to do in this system. So are we saying that Cunha and Mbeumo are going to be United's number 10s for the foreseeable future? That seems good. And we're happy with that, right? They're class players. Good. So then,
they are class players. I mean, the numbers will be different from Cunha than they are from Bruno Fernandes. But, let's not be churlish about that. If Bruno's the number 8 and he's doing a brilliant job at it. Look at his metrics. Him and Elliot Anderson are top for every single crucial metric for a central midfielder. Ball progression, passing. Even Bruno's pass completion rate is shot up because he's playing in a slightly different role. He's still creating chances. He's still playing balls into the final third, still scoring goals, all of that kind of stuff. So, the one thing with Bruno, the only thing you can complain about is he doesn't always track the midfield runners that go past him. Right?
But
it's risk reward. So are that's we saying, the risk? Sure, so the reward is great.
So are we saying that we definitely need one first choice midfield player. So let's say we buy one. Do we need another one?
I think we need 2 in the summer, yeah.
Do we need 2 in the squad? I agree. So are we saying that, are we trying to push Bruno out of this team?
I'd keep him for as long as he wants to play, because actually I haven't seen any signs of his energy levels dipping.
Me neither.
He doesn't seem to want to go to Saudi. He could have made bucketfuls of money. Actually, he in his interview in midweek, he said, we like our little luxuries, but we don't spend a lot of money. I think we've got plenty already for the rest of our lives, something to that tune, right? So it doesn't seem like he's chasing additional money. He could go to a bigger club in Europe, could have done that already. I mean, better club, better team. The biggest club in the world. Biggest club in the world. Let me just correct that. Better team right now.
I'm now thinking about
he could have done that before.
That scene in the Italian Job where he's going, big. They're enormous. No. Yes, they're enormous. But so because I'm just trying to think about the evolution of the team, right? And so Bruno stays. Are we saying that? Well, obviously he's an 8. Are we saying that he's still good enough to be the first choice 8? We couldn't. Let's say, would we prefer a midfield? Let's say that is, I don't fucking know.
Baleba and Anderson. Let's say that.
Baleba and Bruno, or Baleba and Anderson. What do we want?
Yeah. I mean, I still think I'd pick Bruno, but Anderson is growing as a player rapidly.
You could see that he was good at Newcastle. He was quality there. Right, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just, are we saying that we need to sign a player who allows Bruno to be as much Bruno as he can? And Bruno was able to get much further forward yesterday because of what was happening with Cunha and because of what Shaw and De Ligt were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it feels like also the players and the manager are working out how to apply the system to the players. And I mean, Amorim did say that there's no players that couldn't play in his system. And obviously. Yeah, all right, mate. I thought when you said it, but
I don't really buy that, but yeah.
No, but we are sort of seeing it with Bruno, who's he's an amazing athlete in terms of endurance, but he's not physical. He hasn't got long strides to get about the pitch. And yet we are seeing signs that there are ways of making this work with him and Casemiro, never mind with him and Baleba or whoever, had another stinker yesterday, or whoever, or Brady or whoever we sign. I wouldn't, if we're saying that Bruno's staying, then he's going to stay in the summer, stay for another couple of years, and let's say he's still good. I wouldn't say we should then go and sign Adam Wharton, for example, because I don't think he's got the physicality that you would need to dominate with Bruno. But just in terms of
he's the ball progressor, and what do you need, right? In this system, you need someone who is a monster at eating up ground and puts in all the challenges and tackles and stuff. Casemiro does the last bit, but can't eat up the ground And you need a ball progressor who's also physical enough to make up for the fact we got 2 versus 3.
Because one of the other things, and I think we'll talk about this more with Darnish in the tactics pod, is control, right? And what I feel about this team currently is that we're able to go seeking a goal and we're able to defend a goal, but we're not able to do the thing in the middle. And that's why the last 20 yesterday looked like they did, because we weren't looking to score any more goals and we weren't really looking to protect a 1-goal lead either. And just that's ball circulation. We don't really have that. So I come back to what I said before, where you've got Bruno, and let's say it's Baleba next to him. Does he give us that ball circulation? I don't know. He does give us the physicality that would enable...
The best version, I think his passing's underrated, actually, but the best version of him, we appear to have ruined him. And actually, it's not like the rawness of Baleba. You can see it. And although he was good against Newcastle last weekend, I think a lot of this season has looked a bit messy and untidy. He needs maybe having another season at Brighton is not a bad thing for his growth, right? And we'll see whether he really becomes a 100 million plus player rather than just having that kind of potential. We also didn't see the other thing with Baleba is he has a few gears, right? He can go from sort of slowly walking around to sprinting around as needed. We didn't really see that yesterday. Don't know whether it's a confidence or a fitness thing with him. But it's a good question on midfield and what the future is. We just can't have this few options, right? If Casemiro's out of contract,
no, 100% I agree.
They're never going to sign him to another contract at this level. So he's got a choice whether he wants to really reduce his wage and stay or go and take a last big payday somewhere. Uarte, I'm sure they'll try and sell in the summer. Amorim's decided he's not good enough. Like, no point anymore. So that's at least 2 midfielders we need. At least 2. And we know the kind of profile of midfield. If Amorim is staying, I'm sure he's bought himself enough time to stay for the rest of this season unless it goes to shit again, but it doesn't look like it is. We'll see.
He should.
3 wins doesn't tell us this is a great side yet.
No, but injuries, assuming none of the key players get injured long term, it doesn't feel like, it feels like it's going to get much more likely to get better than it is to get worse.
Yeah. So, but even then we need 4 midfielders, right? Of the kind of profile. Now, there's obviously Casemiro will probably leave. Uarte, I think they'll probably try and sell. That means we need at least 2, if the other 2 are Bruno and Mainu. Depending on whether Bruno stays or goes. If he's going to stay, and I hope he does, right? I don't really see why we need to push him out for the sake of finances. Our finances are much better if we're in European football than it would be just selling Bruno, right?
I think it's not so much moving him on just for finances, although if you did get offered a lot of money for someone of his age, then that would be part of it. It's also about evolving the team. And because he's not in theory Amorim's ideal. And yet Amorim's like, well, my system can work for anyone. He loves Bruno. Yeah. And so we appear to be getting somewhere towards it where you've really got a combination of other players compensating for what Bruno can't do, and Bruno's starting to do what he can do really fucking well.
Well, look, but is that not any team and any midfield? Like, you have the right profile of players that go together to have the right mix of skills. And we had this debate with Paul Pogba years ago where it's like, can he play in central midfield? Can he play in this more defensive role? And I was always like, why are we asking him to do that? Right? Well, there's an issue.
The reason we're asking him to do it really,
which he didn't.
One of the reasons is because Bruno comes in and market corrects him. Mm-hmm. Where, okay, if you want to be that guy, these are the numbers.
Yeah.
And so once Bruno comes in, you're thinking, well, no, like Pogba can't be that guy because this guy's that guy and Pogba's got to be something else. And,
and my point was really, the narrative in social media and amongst fans is that the player has to be able to do everything. I just don't think
No, even the Juve.
How teams are created.
Even the Juve was Marquisio and, was it Pirlo? Who, was Pirlo still going
in his first spell?
Yeah, it was Marquisio and Pirlo, I think, who were enabling him just to do what he does. The problem Pogba had was that he wasn't as good at doing what he does as someone else was.
But comes to the question, what is the balance of midfield we've got now? Depending on how long Amorim stays and whether he's a success or not, might make you think about the profiles. They've been reasonably smart so far in their market, since the ownership changed in their market dealings to get players that could work in any system. I don't agree with Amorim that any player works for him in his system, especially in those full-back area, wing-back areas. That is an issue.
And he definitely needs another wing-back.
Yeah, And the profile players you have in midfield is quite specific, but they will go out. And if we said the first window was defence, the second window was attack, and the third window is midfield, sounds a bit simplistic, but appears to be what they're doing. Then we spend an awful lot of money, maybe £200 million, on midfielders in the summer, right? And depending on what we think about the long-term future of Kobbie Mainoo, which I can't believe you have a player of his quality just playing 5 or 10 minutes at the end of each game.
But what would you do with him? So, okay.
Well, this system, it's a real problem. If it was in a usual normal 3-man midfield, you have a defensive player, you have
I get it.
Player, you have a linker.
And he's your 8. Okay, so out of the current team, who are you dropping?
No, I understand the problem here. You cannot fit him neatly into an Amorim system, which gives you a problem, right? So, but the alternative of saying, well, either he doesn't play, which he knows how good he is, and he will go to a top team somewhere, certainly, right, and perform well, or do you go, okay, we believe in Amorim so much that we're going to sell one of our top young players?
No, right? I don't want to sell him. But when you say go to a top team, who do you actually mean?
A profile team that is competing in the Champions League, right?
Okay,
he's of that quality.
Yeah,
obviously.
But he's not going to the best teams in Spain or in Spain, is he? And he's not going to Paris either. He's not going to the best teams in the world.
No, probably not. Although he would look quite good in the Barcelona midfield.
100%. I'm desperate for him to succeed. He's a beautiful footballer. He can do some amazing stuff. I'm just saying, if he leaves United, he's going to Napoli or whoever of that ilk, right? So, and hopefully next season there's Europe and there's not getting knocked out in the first round of the League Cup to Grimsby, and then you're in more of a situation where you can pick players who are right for the game. But I guess the problem he's always going to have in this system, while Bruno's around, is that Bruno's around,
yeah.
And the other guy is going to be whoever we bust £100 million on in the summer, and it's still hard to see what he can do about that, but he's got to play his way in, and yesterday wasn't that. And I know he's only getting 10, 15, getting 20 minutes at the end, and United are 3-0 up at the time. So this isn't particularly a criticism. But at the same time, when he gets chances, he does have to do more than he did yesterday. And I don't know. And that's why I keep thinking about this. Because I'm a nerd, obviously. How are we going to, I can't sleep or whatever. How are we going to evolve this team? And I keep thinking about that with him and Bruno, as in, Bruno is, he can't be discarded because he's too good. He's not exactly what we need, but then him being there is in Mainoo's way. And then you've also got other players coming through that you need to think about who may or may not be good enough. I'm not sure about the Fletcher twins, but people that get to watch more youth team football than me, very high on Jim Thwaite. So I do really like the look.
Yeah. He was beautifully balanced footballer. Obviously you get more time in under 21s, but he talked about Mbeumo not looking that beautiful. Thwaites does. He just has that kind of classy feel to him. It's such a big step up. You just never bloody know. Shea Lacey was training with the first team squad last week, which is interesting. He's another one I'd love to see, especially with Mbeumo going off to AFCON, and Ahmad, by the looks of it. So,
Ahmad going to AFCON, I'd forgotten about that. Would also be a major pain in the arse, where you think, because
major.
That's actually me saying that I even think we can do without Ahmad for 3 weeks, because how on earth can you attack without wing-backs that can attack in this system?
Yeah, it's a mega problem. Yeah. All right, very good. That was a long conversation about Brighton.
One more thing,
victory, Daniel.
I looked up the direct free kick thing for United's awesome. Third goal. And I think the relevant bit is a direct free kick is awarded if a player commits any of the following offences against an opponent, their manner considered by the referee to be careless, reckless, or using excessive force. It's not careless and it's not reckless. So what we're saying is, holds an opponent might be one, but he doesn't actually hold him. So it says impedes an opponent with contact. I'd say the bit that we're looking for. Mm-hmm. There is contact. Does he impede him? Not sure.
Good, marginal. Yeah, very, very marginal.
And that's why I think it was. That's why I think that was allowed. Oh, one more thing before we go. I was in the discotheque last week.
A discotheque?
Went to Ibiza.
Daniel, no one uses the word discotheque.
It was in Ibiza. One of my school friends was a massive metaler at the time, but into bands that that people can't believe I've ever heard of, like Rancid and Biohazard and this kind of thing.
Right.
But then he got into got into electronica, and then wanted to find something that he thought that he could take his wife to, that his wife would like. So he happens upon David Morales, who's like a kind of old school Brooklyn, New York house DJ, goes to see him and has his mind blown. And I've now seen Morales twice. I've seen him twice this summer at Pikes in Ibiza. And both times he's been absolutely sensational, where he's taking, the first time I saw him, and the reason why I'm sharing this stuff is because, when I see this shit, I feel like totally obliged to share it in the way it was shared with me, because it's giving me a lot of nachas, pleasure, or whatever. But the first time I saw him, in the first hour of the set, he's played like Show Me Love, Tom's Diner, Annie, Are You Okay, Liberian Girl, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Just a succession of tunes that to the point where you're like, usually DJs make you wait for this shit, they make you earn it. And you're kind of thinking, are you just playing all the songs you know? Except, it's like a teenager's playlist, except you've been in this business for decades.
30 odd years,
The remixing is just so good. He played a 20-minute remix of The Greatest Love of All. And it keeps bringing it back, because I guess that's the point he wanted to make. The greatest love of all is loving yourself. And so that was kind of quite nice as well, because he had his sets also have a point. And this was the point he wanted to make on this occasion, whereas the first time we saw him, his set was about freedom. And so if you get the opportunity to see David Morales live, please do it. And if you get the opportunity to see him at Pikes in Ibiza, do it twice.
All right, very good. Well, Daniel, that is wrong. Of course, the greatest love of all is Manchester United. There's nothing quite like being a Red. And on these days, the flags, nothing on earth. The flags out in the Stretford ends was a nice touch. It's not very Manchester United having a lot of flags like that, I feel. We've always had an organic atmosphere, but it did add to it.
If you look
Trafford was buzzing yesterday.
Yeah, it did sound good. Like if the flags and the banners is like a 70s thing.
Part of it.
If you look at the United end of the 77 Cup final, you'll see that there are absolutely shitloads of banners, and almost anything that makes the atmosphere, improves the atmosphere, and makes it
good.
And it helps the team on the pitch. And I felt what you said, like, well done to all concerned, actually, because you could feel the atmosphere yesterday. Well done to the players, because it was inspired by the effort that they put in against Liverpool, not just the effort, the actual competence.
Yeah.
And as Amorim keeps saying, you just have to keep going and keep doing it again. And what he said in his interview afterwards, so often he bangs on about mentality, and particularly in that interview, and it's just so true. Ten Hag would say it all the time as well. They're good players, these. And he'd be constantly hammering mentality. And you saw Wenger would do it as well. He'd always be banging on about mental strength, because he knew the physical strength and the physical skill were there. And the problems his team had was, could they keep the head? Could they win when they weren't playing well? Could they not lose their minds when not everything was given to them? And the answer to that often was no, which is why he'd keep hammering it in interviews. He's talking to his players. And I think that's the same. I think that's the same with Amorim. But he's seeing this team, and he knows that they can play football. Well, do Ten Hag play? They can play fucking good football. They can play good fucking football.
Fucking good football. Mark II. Very good.
And that's what this is. He knows that the other stuff is there, and you see people taking the piss out of Roy Keane on when he constantly banging on about mentality, rather than thinking maybe Roy Keane knows more about winning Premier Leagues than I do. And when you see players constantly banging on about it, it's because it counts. Almost all the players in the Premier League have ability. It's about focus, it's about discipline, it's about effort, and it's about strength of character. And that's what we need to see, because we know where the holes in the team are. We know that the manager knows where they are, and they're going to fill them. And then the rest is on the players, because the players are good enough now, most of them in that team.
Yeah, my problem with Roy Keane is one-dimensional. He was very much not one-dimensional as a player. It's part of it, mentality, belief, strength of will. So is the system and the tactical approach, which, as we said, has changed, and so is the quality of players and their execution. All right, well, Bryan Mbeumo scored a couple of goals yesterday. He had his indomitable lion flag out at the Stretford end. He gave it the roar at the end, which he loved, which was awesome too. We'll leave it there. Everyone, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/NQAT pod for the extra show. You can check me out on Substack. Daniel's on the socials, mostly Blue Sky these days. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Sarah.